Welcome to episode 4 of The Business of You. Today we're going to be talking about debt. Specifically, we're going to discuss the types of debt out there, how to rate your debt, strategies to eliminate debt, and cover some tips to stay on track with your plan as you get closer to a debt-free life. As discussed in previous episodes, achieving a debt-free life is your pathway to financial freedom. Debt can be a huge weight on your budget, and it can cause major stress in your life. For some, it can prevent them from ever pursuing their passion and craft. Achieving a debt-free life may seem impossible right now, but I promise you, with the right strategy and motivation, you can get there. So let's get started. Okay, so the best way to start eliminating your debt is to understand the kind of debt you have. There are basically two types of debt: essential and non-essential. Essential debts are the debts that most of us need to live our lives. For most of us, we cannot go out and buy a home with cash, so we need to take on a mortgage. For some of us, we need to take out student loans in order to achieve our educational goals. And sometimes to get a decent car, we need to take out a loan to purchase it. And unfortunately, if a medical emergency comes up and we don't have the savings funds to cover, regretfully, we go into debt. These are the types of essential debts that most people have. And while I want my clients to live completely debt-free, this type of debt can be a part of life. Non-essential debt is the debt that occurs from things like credit cards and payment plans, for things you want but you don't necessarily need. If you absolutely had to go into debt to buy clothes, go on vacation, or get the latest iPhone, you didn't have the patience to just save for it. In other words, it was not essential for you to go into debt. You just needed to save up the cash to purchase it. For homework this week, we provided a simple template. Here it is on the screen, labeled essential debt and non-essential debt. If you haven't already, please populate this template with the amount you owe and the interest you're paying. I've created a sample client for the purpose of illustration. This client has 3 credit cards, one with some medical debt on it, a student loan, and a mortgage. Now let's look at some popular strategies for ranking and repaying debt. So let's take a look at 2 well-known strategies for eliminating debt. First, the avalanche method, and second, the snowball method. Either method you choose, you will need to know your monthly minimum payment and the total you have budgeted to attack that debt. The goal in either method is to attack one debt at a time with all that your budget allows, while you're paying the minimum amount due to the other debts. Once the first debt is eliminated, you move on to the next balance and throw everything you have at it until it's gone. Then you move on to the next balance, and so on and so on. Under the avalanche method, you will focus on your debt with the highest interest rate, not the balance due. So under this method, you rank your debts with the highest interest rate first and the lowest interest rate last. Under the snowball method, the goal is to pay off your smallest debt first, no matter the interest rate. This method keeps you motivated by accomplishing smaller goals first. It also helps form the pay down habit, which can make it easier to stick to your plan. When you get down to larger debts, you will have already gained a sense of achievement. Either method will help you achieve the goal of eliminating debt, and will likely get you there around the same time. The only difference is the psychological motivation. So choose the one that is right for you and stick to it. Now, some of your essential debt I would not include in either strategy. The reason being is that I want you to also make room to save once all your non-essential debt is eliminated. Basically, I would not include a mortgage or a low-interest, high-balance student loan. However, I would try to eliminate any car loans and medical debt, etc. We want to strike a balance in your budget once non-essential debt is paid off. More on this later. Now, before starting either strategy of eliminating debt, it's important to have some cushion in your savings account. It's recommended you have $1,000 in an emergency fund to prevent you from using credit cards when life happens. I think this can be a great idea and I highly recommend it. $1,000 won't solve every emergency, but it can help prevent you from using credit cards in case of a small emergency. Going back to using credit cards could kill your motivation during this debt elimination plan, so let's try to prevent that. So let's take a look at our client from last week's episode. They allocated $705 to contribute towards debt. They have 3 credit cards, one used to pay medical bills, a car loan, and a student loan. The total minimum monthly payment of these debts is $550. That means this client has an extra $155 to pay down their first debt. Under the snowball method, the client would attack card number 1 first, with a balance of $1,500 and a monthly minimum of $60. Instead of just paying the minimum payment of $60, they would pay $215 until the card is paid off, which would take approximately 8 months. Card number 2 has $2,000 balance and an $80 monthly minimum payment. During the 8 months the client was paying off card number 1, the client continued to make the monthly minimum payments of $80. In the 9th month, they take the $215 paid towards card number 1 and add it to the $80 they're currently paying for a total of $295 a month until this card is paid off, approximately 6 months. By the time the 14th month rolls around, they're now allocating $395 towards card number 3, which will take at least 3 months to pay off. All in all, the total paid towards debt each month has not changed. It's just allocated using the snowball effect. Within 2 years, they've paid off all their debt except for the auto loan, which has a minimum monthly payment of $280 a month. But at this point, they can now allocate the full $705 a month towards the balance and eliminate it in less than 10 payments. Ultimately, this client would be debt-free in less than 3 years. Under the avalanche method, the ranking of these debts would change. First, the client would pay down card number 2, which has a 13% APR, then card number 3, which has 8% APR, and so on and so on. Ultimately, they would arrive to the same payoff date of less than 3 years, but would save approximately $100 in interest. Again, try one of the methods above and see which one works best for you. So let's talk about my top 5 tips to stay on track with your repayments and your debt-free plan. Number 1, if your income increases, make sure you apply the extra cash to the debt you are attacking. This will dramatically cut down the time it takes to become debt-free. Any little bit helps. Number 2, make sure you remove all access to your credit cards from yourself. Don't allow yourself to fall into temptation to use the card for any reason. If you start to add to your debt, it's going to make it a lot more difficult to get debt-free. So don't just remove it from your wallet. Remove all of your automatic payments that are hitting the card. Remove it from your online store profiles and any access you may have to it. Number 3, avoid the balance transfer traps. When you have a very high rate of interest on a credit card, it can make sense to do a balance transfer, but only in very specific circumstances. Look for no transfer fees and 0% interest for at least 12 to 18 months. And most importantly, no accrued interest on the balance if you don't pay it off in time. Make sure you budget to eliminate that particular debt during that time. Number 4, make sure you track your progress on a spreadsheet or even a piece of paper. There are some great free spreadsheets out there, so take advantage of them and have a clear outline of your plan. Number 5, constantly monitor your credit score. We will dive into credit scores a little more in the next episode. However, keeping track of your credit score and watching it increase as you pay down your debt is a great motivation. Okay, so there's no doubt that debt is one of the most stressful issues we have to deal with in our lives. But if you face it today and become fully aware of your situation and create an actionable plan to eliminate that debt, I promise you the hard work will pay off. It won't be easy, but just imagine having that extra money you currently paid towards debt in your pocket each month to invest or save for retirement. It will improve your life, your stress levels, and your net worth. So thanks for joining me on this very important episode. I look forward to next week when we talk about your credit reports and scores. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates and financial tips. And I'll see you next week on The Business of You.